everybody, welcome. I am Daniel G. Garza, and this is Put Together Conversations. How's everybody doing? This is our noon edition. I'm so excited to be back. Took a couple of weeks off. I was on assignment on other projects, but I missed you guys. You know, there's something about being live every Saturday and being able to share with you guys and bringing my guests. But I'm super. I know you're going to say you say that every week and every show because I am always super excited about my guests. Obviously, they're handpicked by me. These are people that inspire me, motivate me. And as the show mission is, Put It Together is a show, Put It Together Conversations is a show about folks, where they come from, where they are now, and what their journey is like. And the idea is to motivate and inspire other folks to go after their goals and dreams. So I hope that today's show inspires you to go after your dream. And did I just mess up? I did just mess up. I had my my bio up, and then I was talking to my guest, and then all of a sudden I removed it. Why did I do that? I don't know, because I got too excited. But let me take a minute. I'm not going to sweat. I'm not going to break a sweat. I'm going to be very calm about this and find his bio and bring it up to him. Where are you? You know what? I'm going to bring him on and we're going to talk about this because Kevin, we were just talking. I was telling him, I have your bio right here. And then I messed up, Kevin. How dare you make me nervous? Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Danielle. That's okay. It's more organic. It's authentic. It's love it. I love it.
And right before the show, I was telling him, I have your bio right here. I was being all cool and professional. And then as I was putting everything together, I don't know why I hit the, here it is. I found it. Okay. So we're going to pretend that he's not there next to me. And I'm going to read his bio like he's not here. Here we go. Kevin Shah considers himself Captain Empathy. His mission is to create a world where people seek to understand one another by making empathy a daily habit. He has spent his career building tech solutions as a product leader and is focused on his own startup called Jago. And we'll put the post in just a minute. To achieve his mission, he has launched an empathy gym app called Jago to help people become empathy superheroes themselves. He grows at the cross section various intersectionalities. Man, that's a big word for a Mexican, which include being gay, brown, immigrant, privileged, formerly educated, and multilingual, and an invisible disability. There's a lot to unfold there, man. I'm so happy to have you on the show. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to chat and spend this time together on a Saturday.
Thank you. Okay. So for those of you watching, I always tell you the story of how I met my guests, and some of them I meet because they've been friends of mine for a long time. Some of them I follow, stalk on social media to find them. But I know I've been telling you guys about this for a long time. I joined Lunch Club, which is a website, and I will put that in the description so you can find it. I joined Lunch Club, I think, in mid-October, and actually a casting agent sent me the link, and I thought, I don't know what this is. I didn't, whatever. And then one day going through my emails, I was curious and went and followed it and filled my profile. It's very personalized. Like, you fill out your profile and you put in all your likes, everything you want to know about, and then it gives you a calendar, and you can randomly let the computer select the people for you, or you can choose the people. I believe random is so much better, because if you already know somebody, why do you want to get to know them? So last year, little known fact, and a lot of people didn't know this, but I make it a point on my birthday every year to go somewhere I've never been and meet somebody I've never met. And usually I'll go and to a store or have coffee somewhere and just talk to somebody. Well, of course, 2020 being what it was, we weren't able to just go randomly wherever we wanted to. So I chose, and I'm getting chills. I hope I don't cry, but I chose on my birthday. For those of you who know me for a while, I had my Zoom room party for my 50th birthday. And you're like, you're 50? Yes, I know I'm adorable. But on my 50th, I chose to have a lunch club in the morning. And I was so honored and feel so grateful that Kevin Shaw was the random person that Lunch Club chose for me. And he very graciously accepted to be on the show. So thank you, Kevin.
Oh, thank you. It was an honor to be part of your 50th birthday celebration. It was just this incredible moment to get to know you and feel your energy and hear your story. And it's just an honor and exciting opportunity to continue that conversation.
But thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're here. And so maybe I was a little nervous. Maybe there was a little pressure because he was one of the first people that I asked to like come to my show. So anyway, for those of you watching, remember you can join the conversation. We are on Facebook, so make sure you share that with your friends. We're on YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube, why don't you scroll down and subscribe and like the page so that we can bring you more of these. And if you're on Twitter and you're like, how can I join? I have my Twitter on my phone. So if you want to ask a question, I will relay it over to Kevin. So we're gonna do that. So welcome to the show, Kevin. How are you doing? How was the holidays?
I'm doing well, working to bring every part of my authentic self and share it without fear with all and with everyone out there. So doing great. The holidays were restful, which was great. Being we were in lockdown, so we just stayed in and kept to ourselves and our little pot of friends that we spent New Year's with.
Nice, awesome. Now you are Seattle.
Yeah.
How's the weather up there right now?
Oh, today it's going to be a beautiful day. It's in the low 50s. It's going to be in mid to high 50s, and it's the sun is out. It's just going to be great. I get energy from the sun. I get energy from beautiful weather, and today I'm going to be very, very excited to go into the world of the beautiful weather and outside for a few moments.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep it up because I know we're going to have a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
especially after reading your bio. So, Kevin Shaw, tell us how you put it together.
I love the question and love how open it is and where I can take it. And that when I was thinking about this question, I was thinking there's different parts of me that I put together in different ways, and different parts of me um, that have all been on its own journey, so to speak. And so the part that for me that is most active right now, the most top of mind, is what I'll bring up is I how did I put together this idea that my authentic self is growing and I want to bring who I am in complete in my way to the world. What is interesting in that is most recently I went through a journey and experience where I've realized that I wasn't bringing the 100% of me in all spaces and all people, even to myself, and I was keeping parts of me to myself. And I went through that exploration. I'll come back to that. Um, so I'm an engineer and worked in tech my entire career. Immigrant to United States, and as you said in the bio, I'm a gay, brown man, cisgendered man, and I have been working in tech and just sort of chasing this American dream, chasing this idea of how do we get rich as fast as you can, get to retirement so you can enjoy life or make the money and just keep working as hard as you can and just driving to that. And in that, I had joined a company where we were making tech solutions for law enforcement, for police, for things like body cameras, things like software services, conductive electrical weapons, services to support that for the police globally. And I went deep, and I was working hard. I put it all in, and it was the mission of protecting life, and the mission of protecting truth. But then when George Floyd's murder happened, I saw that the company's stock hit an all-time high in the next trading day, and a small group of people, unrelated people, got wealthier off of the murder of a marginalized of a person, a black man, and in it was a moment of reflection, and I saw some of the police using the products I had built with the mission of protecting truth and life against the protesters
Wow.
to suppress the protests. And I was one of the business leaders. I had a special contract with the company, a special compensation where performance-based at over 8 years if I had stayed. And I'm 34, and so I'm relatively young when it comes to that um, compensation. But I knew it was a once in a lifetime. I wouldn't have gotten it. I will never get a contract like that where it was worth at least $15 million over 8 years that I would have walked away with, and hitting those performance goals. And in that moment, I decided that I could not continue. The system needed to fundamentally change. And so I resigned in the middle of the pandemic in June, and I gave up all of that and I left. And I came back to that question that in a way it's similar to the question, put it together, but I was like, how do we solve this problem? How do we truly build a community where people seek to understand one another? And how do we bring that? Because with the elections, the polarization is still pretty rampant. We just aren't talking as loudly as much now, but it is still out there. The racism, the toxicity in workplaces, in communities. So how do we fix that? And how do we make those fundamental changes? I asked myself that question, and I led to that mission of creating a world where people seek to understand one another by making empathy a daily habit. And that's what started this journey of Jago, and creating solutions to help people become more empathetic, but at the same time finding my authentic self and putting together what that means and how that grows over time.
Yeah, because we talked when we first met. We were talking about working in corporate and coming from immigrant parents, coming to the States, and because we're both basically have the same foundation. Immigrant parents, we were brought to the United States. We're like, go live the American dream, but stick to your traditional values. Like, don't shy too far away. Like, don't go too. So you're caught up in this. Like, the American dream is about me, building, strong. And you kind of forget that there's a whole world out there that we need to connect to. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, so there's two things there. One, my parents are still in India. They didn't bring me here, but they did live here, and everything you said about like stick to our traditional thing was the goal for them. So it was very similar. Just they were doing it from remotely in my situation. But the American dream, I completely agree. It is this idea of self-preservation. It's about myself, about that. It's a selfish dream. The American dream is a selfish dream. And in fact, I go to the extent that the whole concept of American dream is a tool for continuous white supremacy. The whole idea is, hey, don't worry who you are, what your background is. If you work hard enough, you can achieve this dream. But in reality, that's not true at all, because not everyone has the same privileges and the opportunities. And there's fundamental systems that hold people back. And so no matter how hard they work, they don't have access to those opportunities and those privileges. So this whole idea of American dream is this sort of pill that has been fed to people so that we continue to keep the system propped up and alive.
Yeah. And that's one, because I've had friends talk to me about my career, like in entertainment, and some people are surprised that I've been in it for 15 years. They're like, and I know some of them are like, but you're only like at that level. I'm like, I know, because I've been trying to work. I worked twice as hard to get half as far.
Yeah.
Twice as, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting sometimes, but
and that's a perfect example. Your example, Daniel. Thank you for bringing that example up. It is absolutely powerful. In fact, there's less roles, less opportunity. No matter how hard you work, it's not that something that opportunities presents itself. It's what the system exists. And the American dream is, if you are a white person and if you are a white cis male person, straight man, then yes, you are in that space. But then for everyone else, it's a different dream and different reality.
We're on the same. I just, some of my colleagues who are not brown or any other shade of color. I want to be political correct for everybody, folks. But basically, as I tell my friends who are on the same path that I am, that are white, like, you're on the paved road, I'm on the dirt road, and
I love that analogy.
It's just a little bumpier for me sometimes. It doesn't discourage me from getting to the final and getting where I need to go, but I know I have to work. Like, I do 2 shows on Saturdays where most of my friends do once a month, and I'm like, how are you like all this popular? And no, not to take away from any of you, you are doing an amazing job. But I just wonder, what do I need to do to get further ahead? Before we continue, I want to remind everybody you are watching Put It Together Conversations. My guest today is a cool friend of mine, Mr. Kevin Shah, and we're learning about living our dreams and staying our authentic selves. So stick around for more conversations. I do want to say a big shout out to Estela Mata, who is watching us right now. Thank you. Hello. She has, they're advocates for lupus, and they're amazing. I was watching their show this morning. So great show this morning, ladies. So keep telling us. So you're like you have what a lot of us, you were there where a lot of us wanted to be. A great job in an air-conditioned office, making great money, but then your dream kind of, it's like creating the monster that comes back to attack you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It was this idea that where we can have positive intent, but what matters is the impact. What matters is the outcome, not just the intent. And that's something that is fundamentally we've sort of we're ingrained, have positive intent or assume positive intent. But what about the impact? So when you sort of peel that onion, yes, the intent was create body cameras, and yes, it has helped people. Like body cameras and conductive electric weapons has helped in situations and cases to protect truth, and it's helped people. However, in the case of George Floyd, the officer was wearing a body camera. The behavior did not change, and the officer did kill someone. The officer did have a conductive electrical weapon, but they still used their knee and kill someone. And in addition to all of those things, the outcome is that if you're in front of a body camera, it's already too late. Your life is already likely impacted negatively, and the system is more upstream. That, think about, if you're a person of color and you're in front of a camera, you have to go to, if you're arrested or you have to go to jail, even if you're innocent and you're proven innocent later, you still have to pay the lawyers. You might lose your job, you might lose kids, you might have impact, negative family. What is going on in your life? It's already too late. And the fact that they're getting in front of in front of the camera means something is about to change in their life, even if they're innocent. And the fact still remains, at the end of the day, I believe that no matter who it is, we shouldn't be killing each other at all.
Right. Yeah. Definitely watching, because for those of you watching, and I want to repeat what Estella said. Love that you bring up the impact that we have. That what we do has on others. And yes, we talk about that all the time on my shows. The ripple effect. Everything you do has a ripple effect, and there's a positive and a negative consequence. Before I said, I was going to say, it is important to emphasize and take a closer look at what we are doing and how it impacts others. Most evident, yes. And again, we talk about that on the Car Diva show. Like your energy, your action creates a reaction, and there's a positive and a negative side to everything. And we have to be careful about what we do. But for those of you watching, it's after I met Kevin and I went back, and because it was still in the news, and you go back and watch the news, and you're like, holy, like I know somebody, like I'm 1 degree basically away from knowing something. You know what I mean? So I just got chills. It just makes, because I don't want to get like too there. I want to take the story forward. But for every story we do hear in the news, there are all these stories that we don't hear about. And a lot of the stories that we don't hear about are my people. And usually the Latinos get left behind. Our stories are not told. Our mistreatments are not shown. And immigration policies and just living conditions, any of the social conditions, and the fact that Latinos were taught to like, no, like don't get involved. But yeah, so watching the news after I met you was very, I mean, it really opened my eyes on the fact that I'm like, we lose a little bit. I don't know how to say this. We watch it on the news and you're like, it's there. It's them. It happens there.
Mm.
Like it doesn't happen to me because
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
involved in
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I work from home. I'm always doing the right thing. I'm always in the right places. It's never going to happen to me. But then you think, shit, some of these people were in the right place, doing the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
being in their own lives, and it happened. So it can happen to me. So it was really impactful. So then when we're going to go into your app in
Mm-hmm.
just a minute, but it made the stories in the app in Janga so much more impactful. Like,
Yeah, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And absolutely, we are one thing that when I sort of started that my mission and coming out of it is like everyone's story matters. The idea that some people feel, oh, I don't have an interesting story. That's not true. Like a story of someone, like I say this for it's got some humor in it, but at the same time, it's wonderful. Like one of the stories that that's in our platform in Jago is my husband's story. My husband sharing how he learned how to floss because at the age of 30, when a dentist spent the time to teach. Before that, he's been to dentists all his life, but no one took the time to sit and teach. And then he shared that story, and that was a powerful, impactful story. And what I mean by that is these stories allow us to share our authentic self with the world, and everyone's story matters. And I appreciate what you said is because there are stories that are not heard, and there are perspectives, and we don't know what we don't know.
yeah, Estella is saying in our culture we're sometimes we tend to look the other way. Yeah, because that's how we're taught, which is really ridiculous. Okay, so I know we're gonna yes, folks, we're gonna move away from this part of it, but I just want to like clarify. Like in the Latino community, we are taught. Like my dad's an American citizen, my mom was a resident, we were all residents, yet we had the mentality of undocumented immigrants because that's the community that we lived in. We were in
Mm.
that mentality, it's like don't get involved because something's gonna happen. And I kept
Ah.
and I kept thinking wait a minute, we're legal here. Like we have our, this is 70s and
Wow.
80s. We have our papers. How are we going to be? And then it wasn't until I became a citizen in 2018 that I really, like, I was like, ha ha, I'm a citizen now. I must do my part. And like I really started to take interest. And this is why we were talking before. I worked the presidential election. I worked
Mm-hmm.
on centers because I wanted to be part of a solution. I wanted to have representation there. I wanted people, and I worked in a very conservative part of Orange County. I wanted people in that area when they came to vote to see me
Mm.
standing there and saying, welcome, thank you for coming to vote. So they could hear me, so they could see me. And aside from the political side of it all,
Mm-hmm.
I got to know some people because they were waiting in line to vote. So we
Mm-hmm.
would
Mm-hmm.
chat with them. And I realized that when you remove politics, when you remove religion and cultural upbringings, we all want the best for ourselves. We just go about it in different ways.
Yeah, you're
Does that make
absolutely
sense?
right. Absolutely right. Like at the end of the day, no matter who it is in the world, they're looking for happiness and fulfillment. It can be Vladimir Putin, it can be Trump, it could be some kid living in Ghana. They are all looking for happiness and fulfillment at the end of the day, and they are just trying to find it in some way or the other. Some people care about what impact they're making as they go, and some people don't. And that's just their perspective and the lens they're looking at. And absolutely, what you loved your story about when you were welcoming people at the election and connecting with people and getting to know them that on that common level. And I shared this story. I recently, not recently, I in 20, I think it was 2019. I met my husband's uncle and aunt for the first time in Arizona. I was on a work trip, and they never met them before. They never met me. And I was alone. My husband was at home. We went to dinner. Italian restaurant. They take me out to dinner. They're retired, white, rich folk, straight couple. And then we start talking, and they share that they had voted for Trump and they supported the wall. They supported the wall on the border. And I'm an immigrant. I came here. I went through the very expensive immigration process, student, H-1B, all of that. And what they were, I was like, instead of me in that moment when they said they support the wall and what they're doing, I said, um, instead of me sort of challenging that notion, I said, let me just share my story. And my story of I spent thousands and thousands of dollars coming in the amount of vetting I had to do and paying all the taxes that I've paid so far that I will not get Social Security back on or any of those pieces. And then I talked about my interview, my green card interview, where my husband and I we are in the office in Florida, and the person I think we were one of the, because gay marriage was just legalized, so we were one of the initial people applying for marriage-based green card. And in the interview, the person was trying to find any reason to block me. And I had bought a house. Anyone, by the way, there is no law in the United States where anyone in the world can come and buy property in the United States. In fact, so many folks from Russia and China have bought properties in the United States, right? But he's like, why did you buy a house? You bought a house because you wanted to live here. I'm going to deny your application. And my perception, because of the whole experience, and we spent some considerable amount of time there, was the person was homophobic. And the fact that this was a gay couple and we're coming in, and then I was crying, sitting up. I'm like, I didn't even bring a lawyer because this is how true this is to us. And I just shared every aspect of our lives. And the way they would design the questions were designed to sort of, like, for example, the question is, when you come into your home and you look to the right, what do you see? And I said, I see my dining table. And my husband said, I see this little ledge. Both are true answers, but they don't match because the way they designed the question, right? And so I shared this story, and unfortunately, it went into the supervisor for review and appeal, and they overturned the decision from the person and approved it. But when I shared the story, that the uncle and aunt who had supported the wall and wanted the blocking of immigration stuff, they had a moment of thought, like, wait, do I not know all the things I think I knew? And maybe my understanding of this is not right. And they changed their mind. And I didn't have to challenge them that this is wrong and you're bad and this is not right. It's just sharing your story. And that's the power of our stories.
There is, I just celebrated 20 years as an HIV advocate. And I was, does it make sense to post? Like, are you bragging? No, I'm not, well, a little bit. But I was asked to write an article on my impact on advocacy. And I had to go back 20 years in my life and write the story of how I got to where I am. And in the story, I really tell people, like, as an advocate for many years, when I put on that hat, I'm an educator. From the moment I said I'm an HIV advocate, I could be in a party, I could be in an event, but if people know who I am, they'll be like, hey, can I ask you something about HIV? And I'm like, I'm just here to order tacos. Like, I don't want to talk about HIV right now. But as an immigrant who chose to speak out about my citizenship application and my process, I'm already an ambassador for that. And for those of you sitting out here, like, but you don't have to talk about it all the time. No, you don't have to. But just like Kevin was saying right now, and I'm so, like, that's why I admire you. Like, you're like, I could either shut them down and walk away and, take my doggy back home, or I can make this an educational moment and go, let me tell you what immigration is really about. And that, I think that's how we change people's ideas. Because I can't make you change your mind, but I can allow you to see behind the curtain and realize that Oz is not all that it's meant to be. So,
yeah, love it. Yeah.
So before we continue, I want to remind everybody we're halfway through the show. You are watching Put It Together Conversations. My guest today is the amazing Mr. Kevin Shah. We've been talking about perspectives and changing people's minds and living our truth. Remember, if you're watching on Facebook, make sure that you join the conversation by going into the video and posting your question or comment. If you're on YouTube, just post it down at the comments and I will read them out. And if you're watching us on Twitter, you can still be part of the conversation. Just post a question and I'll make sure that we get it out. If you're watching on YouTube, will you scroll down and subscribe and like our video? Thank you. I appreciate that. So moving a little forward in the conversation, I want to get to the app because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my experience to be fresh. And when I knew you were going to come on the show, and I'd already signed up for the app, I was like, I'm gonna wait because I want to be really amazed that day. I don't want to be like, oh, I've been using
Mm.
it forever. So I went on this morning, and I just got chills, and I started watching some videos, and I was like, wow, like these are really pump me up videos. They really pump me up. I'll share three of the stories that I think three of the stories. Yeah, one was a guy that broke his wrist when he was a kid, and how that kind of changed him. And then another woman who was a surrogate twice, and she just blew me away. And the third guy was about which I was like, that's me. Like he wanted to join all these organizations and help and be part of and volunteer. And they all turned him down. And he's like, well, screw that. I'm going to start my own stuff, which is what I did. I was like, if nobody's going to give me a talk show, I'll make my own talk show. And
Uh,
so so can we talk about,
Yeah, wow. I'm so glad you. This is great user research for me, like customer feedback, so to speak, as a app owner. Yeah, the name of the app is Jago. Jago means to wake up in Hindi, and it you can download it on Google Play and Android and Apple App Store, uh, in JAAGO, and it's I call it an empathy gym. So the way in companies or anyone who's looking to learn diversity, equity, inclusion, and how to drive that in organizations, in companies, and workplaces, in any spaces. Um, I equate it to the example where if you hire a personal trainer and you didn't work out rest of the year, you're not going to see the results. Like if you have a personal trainer once a year that teaches you how to do everything, and then you just don't work out the rest of the year, you're not going to get the results. So same way when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, it's an ongoing journey and learning. It has to be continuous growth. It's not a one and done thing. It's not something where you can learn how to add 1 + 1 is equal to 2 and then always add 1 + 1 equals to 2, because it's complex and human beings are complex. And so the idea of the app was, can we create that sort of an empathy gym where you spend 6 minutes a day, you watch 2 stories a day, and we would offer it to companies, and it's open to everyone. And they offer it to their employees. And the idea is you watch 2 stories a day and you practice empathy. And these stories are at different intersections. And there's themes like leadership and sales and teamwork and workplace and gender identity, say race, sexual orientation, immigration. And if their theme doesn't exist, you can add it. So the whole idea of I don't know what I don't know enables people to bring any story to the platform. And they just tell a story in 3 minutes or less. And these are powerful stories, like the three you just described were incredible. And there are stories about how I have a story about someone who sent one in, and we have hundreds of stories on the app, and we invite anyone to share their story. We want to empower everyone's story. And there's a person who is recording their story and talking about their bipolar disorder, and it's in there, and once you keep going, it'll come to you. And while they were recording the story, they realized, just by telling my story, I realized that I needed to get help for my bipolar disorder.
wow.
And that's in the story, and you get to have that moment. And then at the end of the story, you ask 6 questions, which force perspective taking. And first starts with self-empathy. A lot of people don't even think about their own feelings, and that self-empathy, and that's empathy starts with self-empathy. So first question we ask after you watch a story is, how did you feel after you watched that story? And then the second question is, how do you think the storyteller felt when they were telling the story? So imagine now you have to put yourself in there in deep listening. So you learn deep listening. And then the third question is, how do you think the storyteller felt when they were living that story? So now you have to put yourself in that storyteller's perspective. A lot of people don't do that. And when you answer the question, you get to see what the storyteller said, and you get to see whether you match with the storyteller or not. And you get a measurable score. So you get to measure your growth, just like you weigh yourself or you do BMI or any other measurements. This is measuring your growth as a person. And then the fact that you recognize these storytellers as courageous people and share your own stories, you feel heard. Other people feel heard, and you get to see how many people have thanked you for your courage. This isn't about likes. This isn't about a social network at all. This is your private space to learn about your own intersectional identities, learn about yourself, and learn about other people's stories. And some of the best benefits that come out of this is not only just empathy learning, but realizing your biases and reducing your assumptions.
Yeah. I'm okay. I'm gonna call myself out because I think this is my brain. Oh my god, I've been interviewing people for like 15 years. All I do is listen to people. I am a great listener. I am so and then listening to the stories, I was like, Garza, you really sometimes don't pay attention to what people are saying. Like sometimes you're a little clue because you're multitasking. Like right now, I'm making sure that everything's functioning. I'm listening to you, making sure that the comments are up. But it really made me stop and listen to these stories. And some of them I had to like the lady with uh, the surrogate. I rewound it so I could listen to it again, and I was like, lady, you're so awesome. Like not once, but twice. That's 18, that's almost 2 years of your life, like giving away to somebody. And
Yeah.
I mean, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And yes, self-empathy is not being selfish. Yeah, no, so I posted my first video this morning, just to say that. I did my first video. I posted it. So for all of you who are joining right now, because I know you're like, where, how? Yes, if you join, you're going to see me pop on there. And I'm going to put more stories because I love that I can share my spiritual journey.
Love it.
And where it's gotten me today. I started my first video. I'm not going to give anything away. I want you guys to go with it. But my first video was about when I came into learning spirituality, what the world, and that goes back to rehab, like almost 14 years ago. That's when I like, religion and spirituality can work together. It's not one or the other, and it's so you guys. There's there. It's one of those things that like no matter what I tell you, yeah, it's a total reality check. Oh my God, yes, Estela. Like I feel like I'm having a conversation now without her. It's a total reality check. So so because this is put it together, you've already told us a little bit of the story, but what made you think of an app? Like what made you?
Yeah. So I was watching this documentary called Crip Camp, and it's a documentary on Netflix, and the Obamas produced it, and it's about the civil rights movement of people with disabilities in the United States. It's an incredible documentary, highly recommend it. And it was a Sunday, I'm sitting with my husband and our dog on the couch. I had resigned from my job, and I was like, why can't more people just watch stories like this? These are real stories, and these are the stories that will help you understand that look what people have to go through just to live, just to breathe, and just to feel the same, or not even feel, get access to the same, or at least close to the same privileges and opportunities as most people. And I was like, well, the problem is it's opt-in, and the problem is it's not scalable. You have to have these one-on-one conversations. We're having this conversation, and people will understand me. I will understand you, Daniel, and we'll get to know each other. But how do you scale this? How do you get it to the scale of our world? And so being a technologist, being someone I've done technology all my life, I was like, technology can help solve this problem. And then I've run I run safe space training, diversity inclusion training at companies and facilitated those. And we do that as part of Jago as well. And so in that I was like, I've experienced it in the small scale. Like, okay, what are the problems when people come in, especially the people who are a little hesitant? They're fear of judgment. They're afraid that other people will see them as closed-minded or not understand them, and so they don't show up, or if they do show up, they stay quiet, or they don't share their authentic self. So how do we create that? So I thought, okay, how a technology can solve this, can deliver a scale. And so that's how the idea came up, is watching this documentary, understanding some of these things. And then I came up with, then we need a private space where people can learn, and we empower people's stories that enforce perspective taking.
So along this path, I'm sure you've probably been asked this before, but what have you learned about you?
Yeah, wow. Learned so much about me. I learned that what I thought was happiness for myself was not quite what I learned. I was chasing a future happiness when in fact I could just stop and be happy now. And found this amazing, I found my authentic self. I found parts where I was holding back, so many parts of me. I learned that I was closed-minded. Even though I thought I wasn't judgmental, and this is the part that was very unique. Even though I thought I was like, I am not judgmental. I don't judge people. I don't judge people. And most people think that. Most people think I'm not judgmental. But I realized that I was. I was judging myself, I was judging others, and I wasn't open-minded. Like, I'll use an example. I had a friend who throughout his life would share his love for comic books and Marvel superheroes with me. And I just rejected him because I was never interested. But instead of rejecting it and judging it as like it is something I'm not interested in, oh, this is not like, okay, great that you're interested in. If I just let myself open myself a little bit to that, I would have had a closer friendship with that person. I would have learned something out of it. And so I found parts of me that I was still closing up, and there were some closed-minded parts of me. And it was a journey that I went on. And so I learned that. I learned that I needed to understand that an authentic self isn't this one slice in time. It is an ever-growing part of us. And then every time some new experience comes in, it becomes a part of our authentic identity.
Yep. That's it's so interesting because uh, we have a new person. Hi, Angelina. Thank you for watching us on YouTube. So glad that you're here with us. Um, it's something that we talk about when I do spiritual cleansings or one of my cleansing workshops, and we get to the throat chakra. And a lot of people think, "Oh, I'm keeping it real. I am telling the truth out there. I am saying now." And I'm like, "Are you being honest with yourself?" And you see sometimes the glossy look in the eyes, like, "Yes." And I think like you, like, I know we're watching, you think, oh, the card Devo is very spiritual. Yes, but I can also be very judgmental. And a lot of it has to do with my foundation and my root chakra. What's there? It's the stuff that nurture and nature made me a little judgmental. And everything that I've been through starts putting these walls in front of me. And that I'm like, no, you are that. You hurt me in the past. And you in the general version. I'm not letting you in. But that's just being judgmental of somebody that I've never met before. But because they look like somebody else, no, we can't be friends. And so, yes. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get it. And what I love about that this ideology is recognizing it. If we just pause ourselves and just instead of saying this is who I am not judgmental, or I am not this. What if we asked ourselves a different question? How can I improve myself, or how can I grow myself, or how is that? Like, it doesn't matter who I am. It matters is what I know and how can I know more or grow more.
Yeah.
And so changing that mindset and reframing how we think, because one of the things we've talked ourselves, which is don't change yourself for anyone. We've heard that phrase, don't change yourself for anyone, right? The intent of it, if you parse it out, the intent of it is you don't change for someone. If someone says you be more like a white person, or you be more like so and so, that's what the idea is. But what it resulting is happened is, because it's such a broad statement and generalized statement, people are like, I'm not going to change. I love who I am and I am great. But the idea is we live in an ever-changing world. We live in an ever-changing community. So what it should be is don't change yourself, in that don't listen to the negatives. Don't listen to someone saying, doubting yourself. So it shouldn't be that we should rephrase to say don't change for anyone. It should be don't doubt yourself for anyone.
Yep. Yeah. I again, talking chakras and energy, I talk to people about their solar plex, which is your gut feelings, your intentions. If you are committed to your gut feelings, if you're committed to your true intentions, you'll stand firm. It's like, it's the old saying, like, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. And yes, I'm so glad you said, because so many times, and sometimes clients of mine come to me and they're like, I just broke up with so and so because I'm not changing for no one. And I'm like, well, it's not really that. It's growing. I am not the person that I was 13 years ago in rehab. The person that went into rehab is not the person. I'm not the same person that went into lockdown a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Changed. I haven't changed who I am, but I've changed the way I see the world. And that makes a difference. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, so I have two jobs. Like I'm a CEO, co-founder of my startup Jago, but I also to bootstrap my company, I also work at T-Mobile as a product leader, and I have a team of 15 people reporting to me, and my whole pitch to them is my job is to be your coach, and my job is to make sure that you are a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
What you said about instead of we are a different version than we were yesterday, and that's how we need to look at ourselves, as we are today's version of Kevin, today's version of Daniel, and we are looking ahead to tomorrow's version and how tomorrow's version is going to be better for ourselves, for the world, for the community. And absolutely, if that mindset we put in, we will be more open to experiences and amazing experiences. I have found what's interesting is I love travel and I've traveled the world, but in 2020 and 2021, we're staying in home, how many experiences, different experiences, journeys we've been on that we never even thought were possible.
Yeah. So true. I think I've done most more internal growing in the last year than I did in the 49 years before. For those of you who are not familiar with the show, I just turned 50, so thank you very much. But I know I keep saying that because I look in the mirror today. I know it's a little vain and it's off the topic, but I looked in the mirror because I shaved the sides because I was all scruffy. And I was like, dude, 50? Really? Wow. With that said, I
No,
want to remind you.
I love how proud you are about it. We shouldn't have any shame about how loving ourselves. And we've created this society of like the whole idea of guilty pleasure or having like, if you love yourself, you look at yourself and you find yourself attractive. I am in love with you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's one of those, well, you know, pretty people attract pretty people. So let's just keep it that way.
No.
Um, for everybody watching, this is Put It Together Conversations. I am talking to Mr. Kevin Shah, creator of Django. So go check that out. Let me put the banner back up so you guys can check it out. Go check out Django Put Live. This is the site that will take you to on to the website, and then from there you can go and find it on either your Apple or your Android phone, and you can go and download it, and then join it, post your videos, get inspired by other people. I surely did this morning, and I want you to.
I'm looking forward to watching your video, by the way. Since you posted it right before the show, I haven't had a chance to go review it and watch it.
And it's only the first. I'm so hooked
Yeah.
now. I want to do more because all the topics are like, oh, I can talk about that, and I can talk about that.
And we have a guide. We have a
Yes,
inspiration. So if you go into the menu, you can see what an example video looks like, and there's questions. And these are amazing questions that I and my team put together, which were, when is the first time you realized you were blank? So if I asked you, when is the first time you realized you needed to go to rehab? Or when is the first time you realized you needed to love yourself? Or do you realize you were white? The first time you realized you were privileged? First time you realized you were not privileged? And then there's a story behind that.
yeah, dude, we could do a whole episode on just that. We could just have people just join us in a conversation on asking those questions. We're going to talk about this after the show. My ideas are flowing. For everybody watching again, we're 45 minutes. We're 12 minutes in at the end of the show. Remember, ask questions, join the conversations, be part of it. If you're watching us on Facebook, please share it with your friends. Put it on your page. If you're watching us on YouTube, will you scroll down, subscribe, and like this video? Leave a comment, and I'll get back to you. I'll make sure that Kevin gets any videos, any comments that are post the live show. There we go. And if you're on Twitter, will you retweet the show and ask us a question? And again, I'll make sure that he gets it. One of the questions that I like to ask my guest is, Kevin Shah, what words of wisdom would you like to share with the audience?
I would say, for me, the words of wisdom is the whole idea of imposter syndrome. And we talked about American Dream, but the whole idea of imposter syndrome is designed to instill self-doubt and hold people back. It is designed, and so you'll hear two schools of thought on it. One is imposter syndrome isn't real, and one is imposter syndrome is real. And I believe both are true. And why I'll come to why I bring that up as words of wisdom. A lot of us, we have self-doubt, and it's been instilled from because of shame growing up, because of hearing no all our lives, and just the system we're living in, where especially if you're from any of the marginalized communities, you are sort of No, you stay in your circle, you stay in your place, right? And that instills that imposter syndrome. And that's why when people say it's not real, it's because it's been created by someone. It's not something that exists as a human experience. It's been instilled. It's sort of part of this conditioning, but at the same time, it is real because it exists. And so what I would say is, um, ask yourself your why. When you ask yourself, what is your why? What is your why of taking an action? Being intentional about those, being intentional and asking yourself your why, it starts breaking down that imposter syndrome, and it starts breaking down those doubts that we have. And then you chase your why. And if you don't know your why, that's absolutely okay. Your why can be figuring out my why. And that's amazing in itself. And that's as powerful. And so part of it is, I'll tell you, I didn't find out my why till the age of 33. And now I have found it. I have found happiness. Yesterday night, I was sitting on the couch with my husband, and I was telling him, we were watching my favorite TV show of all time, and we were watching this TV show. It's called Taskmaster. It's a British TV show, and it is the most amazing show. You can watch it on free on YouTube. They have like all the seasons there now. It's amazing. It's like one of the best shows ever made, in my opinion, and it's authentic. And I've watched it like 5 times now. We're rewatching it. I've taken an edible. I'm watching this show. I've got my dog on my lap. I've got my husband right next to me. We've got some macarons on the way, and that was my happiness. And all of this was possible because I found my why. I found my intention, where I will chase my happiness, I will chase fulfillment, and I will take care of myself while taking care of the community.
That is so cool. And it's like you were reading my mind this morning. Shut up, Kevin. Stop it. I you're right. I'm Daniel Garza, and I am I continuously fall into the imposter syndrome. Um, I finish a project and I'm like, oh my God, that's it. I don't have anything else. I'm done. Nobody's ever going to call me again. This is the end. I go for an audition. I don't get it. Oh my God, I'm a horrible actor. Nobody will ever hire me. My agent's going to fire me. And every project is like that. But thank you, Facebook Memories, for keeping the memories in touch with me. For everything that Facebook people complain about. I love that every morning I can wake up, and one of the first things I do is I do my meditation, I do my prayers, and then I go into the memories for the day, and I can scroll back, 10, 11 years to things that I've done in my life and go, you deserve to be where you are right now. Enjoy it.
Yes.
Going back to the foundation of our upbringings, because your parents were taught to just work and keep their heads down and not enjoy or make any noise, doesn't mean you have to live that way. And it's okay to enjoy your life. But yeah, just this morning I was having a little bit of a meltdown, like, oh my God. And then I was like, I looked at my calendar and I was like, you're doing 3 interviews today, Garza. like you get the chance to speak to 3 groups of people today, and like, you think you're not doing anything? Like, shut up, whatever, dude. But for anybody out there, yes, I'm here to listen to you. So but
thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that moment.
But did you say macarons? Is that what you were waiting on?
Macarons, yeah, macarons. We had, our favorite dessert in the world is macarons, and we don't eat them often. But yesterday we're like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna treat ourselves, and it was just this amazing little moment. And then once we ordered it, we realized they weren't vegan, and so we are now sad about that a little, because we recently became moved into being plant-based
Nice.
diets, and so that was a little journey back, but we'll come back to it.
Okay, so I know we're going off topic. So I'm just curious, how were your first days going vegan?
It wasn't. So I've been a vegetarian all my life.
Okay.
So for me, it wasn't a big deal. The biggest change was just stopping eggs and cheese. That was the last 2 things that were left, anyways, in our life. So it was a very gradual change.
Gotcha.
And because I've been, to be honest, like I don't even like any of the imitation meat. that's made, because since I've never eaten meat, fake meat to me is like, why am I eating that? I've got all these amazing vegetables and fruits and nuts and beans that I love. So I'm not even on that side. So yeah, for me, it was a very easy journey. My husband, who had eaten meat, he went through it gradually. And that's what we recommend. First, cut out red meat, then cut out other, like, slowly do the last thing you probably want to cut out is seafood, and then cut that out as well. Because not only is it the big impact is climate change and animal abuse and all of those aspects of it. But then it's also your own health that becomes, you feel better. And then dairy got cut out, and we're so much happier and glad we did that, and we don't feel like we're missing out on anything.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I was thinking you went from meat
Yeah.
to, I was like, whoa, like that's a huge jump. So for anybody out there, like, congratulations if you're. I'm an all around eater, but
I no judgment. Absolutely, whatever makes you happy is what I say, as long as it doesn't hurt other people.
Yeah, that's what my doctor's always says. Like, you're doing good. He's like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll keep doing it. I am obsessed with tacos. I will. People who know me know that. I go from veggie tacos to meat tacos, and if they're done right.
Oh my God, I love tacos as well. Oh my God, I was if I could, I would open a Korean taco food truck.
Kevin, don't tease me.
I would love a kimchi taco or something like. Oh, that sounds so good. Put some beef on there.
I know at some point we're gonna meet in person, and I'm gonna make you my all veggie tacos.
Yes, I'm excited.
And they're not because I make them, but they are. Oh my God!
I love a good taco. So for dinners we eat like taco, like lettuce taco, which is using, instead of tortilla, we use the lettuce wrap.
Yeah.
And then we fill it with either, like, we have beans and beets or other things, and we make these amazing tacos during the week.
Yeah, and being Latino, one of the things that we grow up on is, you go to mom, I'm hungry. There's beans in the fridge.
Yeah.
You heat a tortilla on the fire and put some beans in there.
Yeah.
And that's have a couple of those with some salsa and you're good to go.
Oh,
which right now I have some beans that I could just. So we're going to do that. So we're down to the last 3 minutes before we go. Any last comments before we leave, Mr. Kevin?
Oh, dang. I would say first, thank you for the space, for the opportunity, for chatting, bringing your authentic self to this journey, sharing about Jago. And in final thoughts, we listen to each other's story. When we meet each other, let's ask, what is your story, or what makes you feel belong, instead of saying, where are you from, or making assumptions based on identities and other aspects that we don't even know yet. And I would, at the end, say, if you know of people or companies that would love to join the empathy gym revolution, the empathy revolution that's coming. It's already, Google just released an article that was, empathy is the skill of the future. Empathy is required. I mean, you as an actor, Daniel, empathy is such a big part of your experience. You have to empathize with the character, and you put yourself in the character's perspective. And so empathy is this core fundamental thing that we have sort of downplayed, when it's one of the most important pieces. So if you know organizations that are interested, please reach out to us. We'd love to. You can reach out through the website. I will always respond, and share your stories. Go into the app, give us feedback. If you don't like something, tell us, good, bad, ugly, give us feedback and share your stories.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. Again, for those of you watching, I'm on there, and I just found it really inspiring to be able to not only listen to people, but know that somebody's going to listen to you, and talk about using your throat chakra. This is an amazing opportunity to do that. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I so appreciate you. And I look forward to doing more work. Don't go away. I'm going to put you in the green room so I can say goodbye to everybody. Stay right there. For everybody watching, thank you so much for being part of the show. Thank you for everybody who commented and joined the conversation. This is Put It Together Conversations. I'm your host, Daniel G. Garza. Remember, we're here every Saturday from at noon and 5 p.m. with an occasional special show thrown in there. You can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, and Twitter, where you can get all the shows live. If you've joined in the replay, you can still join the conversation. Make sure you post something, and I'll make sure that our guest or my guests get to see them and answer them for you. I hope that this show has motivated you and inspired you to go after your own dreams and goals. And I am Daniel G. Garza, and we'll see you next week.